Alright, let's get into some work. Let's clap to get started. I'm like one of those cheap old technology lamps where you gotta clap to make them work. Mind you, if I clap again, I'll probably put myself to sleep. Especially considering how late it is and how dragged on all the work I've been doing has become lately. It's just incredible how many jobs are just languishing in the slots lately. It's actually very frustrating. It's quite costly in terms of time and money. Let's see, let's get some larger fonts here because I'm old and need to be able to see. Alright. Okay, so let's see, go to the overhead. Okay. Now, this is the second time now this board has been on this stream, and the first time we had a massive amount of liquid damage around the SSD, NVRAM chips and things like that, and we fixed it up, it booted. I managed to get the data off this machine. I wasn't able to do a time machine though because it was slow. I mean, we're talking it was 12 hours and it still hadn't finished initializing the time machine. So in the end what I did is I dropped down to a console and did an rsync copy. So once the rsync copy was done, I was like, alright, now I can go back to this board and find out what the heck is making it run so slow. So I cleaned up most of that corrosion area, replaced a few more caps, cleaned up everything and all that. And it still didn't feel like that should be the cause, because more than likely if there was going to be issues there you would see it more as retry errors or disk related, but this machine was slow across the board. Anyway, so I went looking around for other areas of corrosion and I found it, and I realized that it's because someone else has been into this case, and I believe this was actually Apple, and they did this. And of those of you who work on these machines, you will recognize this fault. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, yep, okay, I know what's happened here. So basically what happens is, when we open these new cases, we've got to run a spudger down the side of them to unlock the little sort of grab pins that are on the edges. And you're only supposed to use 3 or 4 millimeters of the spudger to unlock this. But what some people do is they've got to be using a good ½ inch. And when they use a good ½ inch, what happens is the spudger comes along and it goes beep beep, out of the way, poof, and just knocks that part flying off there. And unfortunately they did a complete job on this one. So we have a bit of work ahead of us because a couple of those vias do not look accessible. So I'm not happy about it. But anyway, that there is why the machine is running so god-awfully slow. And it happens. This is probably something that I see every other month now. It's just one of those things people aren't sure of what they're doing when they're popping open the lids and they knock off these. Anyway, it may be a dead bug job. It may be just, I might be able to just get it all to sit back down. Yeah, let's have a look at the board view and schematic. And this is it up here. And let's see. And as you can see, this is like thunderbolt airflow. So it's going to upset the machine. It's going to think there's no airflow, there's no fans running, that sort of stuff. And consequently, it's going to go into SMC failsafe type mode and run really god-awful slow. Alright, Dave Jones might use a Bowie knife. Yeah, he might. At least they need to clean shave it off, yeah. Anyway, so let me have a look at what pins we've got here. So we've got NC, we're going to quad view here. And see what hard work is ahead of us. So NC, NC, NC. So NC, NC, NC. Alright, so these two are going to be the real PITA ones. PITA simply meaning pain in the ass, but oh wait, no, they're grounders. Alright, we got saved. They're grounders, so we can just run a trace from this here, which is all ground. So very lucky. What else? These two, at least, there's sufficient stalk showing up, so we probably won't have to do anything really with them. We could probably solder straight back onto them. These two here, we've still got the traces. So because we've still got the traces on the end of that cap, we can just once again pull that under, so it'll be okay. Hey Keith, Noosa, Yummy, Byron, Josh, James, DJ. Kind of half wondering whether Vince might turn up today. I doubt it, but anyway. Okay, we got lucky. One pad actually did come off, but the rest of them, yeah, look at that. Stalks ripped out, stalks ripped out. The nice thing is we didn't damage the chip, because I don't think I've actually got any spare chips for this one. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking I can get away with just... yeah, maybe I'll put a coil of wire around them. Yeah. So we'll have to definitely coil wire these two. Just put little loops in there. Yep. Alright, let's get to it. It's going to be a bit of a task. Hey 10-minute tech. Hey Hyperman. Hyperman, did you get hear me when I was telling you about that customer with the V20 and it ended up being the V30? I wasn't sure. I didn't check to see if he responded. Yeah, I got lucky with this one because those two stalks, I believe they are... yeah, they're the clock and the data line. So I kind of needed them. It's not too bad, Hyperman. At least it's a relatively low pad count unit. Yeah, it's not like it's some 64 pad BGA thing or SMC. Oh right, you missed that. No, I thought you were right here when I was talking about it. Anyway, that customer you sent across about the battery thing, and they thought it was a V20. It ended up it was a V30 they had. But luckily they did order a V30 battery in the end. I think they realised that it was a V30 they had. But that certainly made fitting it a bit more difficult. Because I said to them, I said, it's a V20. I said, you know, well, when they were asking me, they wanted to bring it around for me to fix it. And I said, why? It's a V20, just clip the back off with your fingernail. And they're like, I can't. It's stuck on like with glue and stuff. And I'm like, what? And in the end, yeah, when they bring it around, it's a V30. I was like, bravo. Yeah, lucky they bought a V30. But anyway, so I had to charge them for that whole fitting process. Ain't gonna get that job for free, no way. Especially considering I've never done a V30 battery replacement. I should have said, oh, it's alright, I'll do it for free, and then charged you guys for sending them to me. I need some wire, Hello, spider. What are you doing trapped in there? Come on. Yeah, you're a friendly little jumping spider, aren't you? Don't jump there. Not the crotch. You want to be on TV? Yeah. Come here. God, you guys are so, come on. I love these little guys. They are so cool. Alright, get out of the way then. Just, he's not going to want to come onto camera. They're just too jumpy. Hence their name. Seriously, jumping spiders are fantastic little critters. You've genuinely got no dramas with them. They're not going to harm you or anything like that. They're beautiful little spiders. Huge personalities. For Australians who know, I could say they've got Daryl Eastlake sized personalities. Huge. Anyway, I'll shut it now before I lose half my audience again. Money spiders, yeah, that's another term for them. Ach, niemand, come on. What? Okay, one thing I've learned is that you really should cut this wire pretty much down to the length you want, straight up, because it has a real tendency to just spring around all over the place if you have it too long. So just making sure the spider's out of the way. It's too damn cute, don't want to squish him. Hey Tonto, Zentech, haven't seen you for a while. Yeah, Huntsman's, look, the big problem I have with Huntsman's is that they usually catch me off guard. They seem to like it. They don't really, but yeah, you just sort of sometimes think that they into scaring the death out of you. But I got no problem with them being around. Personally, my favourite around the house are the wolf spiders. They're pretty awesome to watch in action. To give you an idea what jumping spiders kind of feel like in general, look up peacock spiders. Peacock spiders are around about the same size. They're a little more colourful than the jumping spider. But I mean, if you can't love a peacock spider, then, well, I guess maybe there's just no hope. I mean, those things are so damned adorable. Alright, pad down one. Shush now, Gecko. Nobody asked for your opinion. I thought this was a small piece of wire and it's already too big. APR. Yeah, they're not even native Australian geckos, those ones. They're what we call the Asian geckos. And they are actually quite problematic. One thing I need to put some practice into is to making those cute spirals. Yeah, you see the professionals over in Asia. Well, at least that's where I believe most of them are from. And they make those really nice spiral pads, and it's like, I really got to practice how to do that. Hey, 555. I can do a fold back, that's not a problem, you know, fold back in like a little loop like this, that's great, but it's no cute spiral. Something bit you while kayaking. Sounds like a wasp got you or something. There we go, there's the next pad. Or to make them pre-wound flat up. Well, they actually, you can get them now already pre-done. Just prefabricated standard pads. Now I'm going to have to be really a bit careful with these pads here, because if I mess them up they can just dive back into the substrate, and we don't want that. So I might pre-tin this wire in a location that is not where these pads are. Now this particular wire that I'm using, this is lens wire. It's actually meant for crystal radios and things. Zentech, it's a single concurrent use of the same person license, so that is if you do have an office machine and a home machine, but you are the sole user of it, then yes, you can do that. So in other words, the usage case you're talking about there does apply. Solder bridge. Of course, you being here, you would want some terrible, terrible thing like that to happen. Basically, I base my license usage on the old... focus on this for a second. Crud. Oh dear God, did the solder bridge just get his wish? Find out. We'll check our diode mode. Oh, ideally, as soon as I can find a ground, I should get something other than open. Okay, 0.47, that's good. We are in contact. I think I'll do a better job of pre-tinning this wire this time. I think the problem was that I only tinned half of the wire, like the top half. Alright, that's a better job. A 3X. Updates on the morning's. Oh yes, with regards to the 3332, right. I put another VRAM on there, and I did a better job with the reballing. I actually had to create my own stencil. But unfortunately, while it did come up with the screen, it's still not booting properly. It still crashes. So I'm thinking it might actually be one of the other VRAM chips. What are you doing, Paul? You're not doing a very good job here. I mean, that's an understatement, buddy. Yeah, it's some degree of progress. I wouldn't call it very good progress. At this scale, the liquid tension stuff is really it's your friend and your enemy at the same time. Okay, I think that might suffice. Try and hold it steady so that it actually Alright, so now that there is quite unsteady, but we will survive. We've got to do something about these two grounds here. I don't think there's another ground. Let's see. Yeah, they're the only two grounds, so I do actually have to do them. Hey, Tony W. I'm fairly sure that should be ground there. So what I might do is just run a wire that runs across there, goes there, and then comes back out here, or even just one straight long one. Like I said, I'm 99% sure this is ground. We'll just check on that there. Yeah, that's ground. I mean, I think it was fairly obvious that it was, but you got to check these things, you know. You can't always just assume these things. I mean, you can, but then sometimes you're wrong, and, well, that's when things start hurting. Okay, Dave, enjoy the sleep. You're a lucky man getting sleep. It's not something I really obtain a lot of lately. I need it, but I don't obtain a lot. What are you saying, 3X? On the previous MacBook VRAM leak on the condenser? What? On the capacitor, do you mean? Given that condenser and capacitor can sometimes be used interchangeably in terms of terms. And I've got to cut that wire off, so I just went all crazy everywhere now. Yes, man. Come on. Chop, chop. Hey, Max. How's it going? Hey, Walter. I haven't seen you for a while. What have you been up to? Making people cry and things like that? Okay, what we're going to do is we'll solder it onto this ground point and then swing it back around. Hey Barry, looks like we've got some good people here. Thomas Lemmy, what, Brain Dead 165, what's going on there? Have you got the dreaded spins for 10 seconds and then stops and then spins again? Is that what you mean by Brain Dead? Because that's certainly no fun at all. Right, that was a bit of an explosion of craziness, and amazingly everything stayed moderately in place. It does need to be flattened out a bit though. That should suffice for a ground. I think we're pretty much ready to put the chip down. It's going to be wonky, there's no two ways about it. Yeah, it's not going to sit so well. But we'll just cover it with UV cure and hopefully things will be okay. You're being unwell, Walter. I'm sorry to hear that. That's not good at all. Yeah. I mean, genuinely, for all jokes aside, being unwell is not what you want. Is that attached? Yes, it is. Have I blown my chip away? I'm almost certain I've just blown that chip away somewhere. Oh, this is not good. The chip that I don't have another of, I've somehow apparently lost. Now I've got 2 speaker amp chips up here. They've been sitting there for the last 3 days and nothing's happened to them. No, that's just a piece of plastic, so is this. Yeah, unfortunately, the camera is not going to do you any favors. It is a big enough chip that I should be able to see it. And it's also big enough that it should not have blown away too far if it did get caught by the hot air. Yeah, I've checked the flux tube, it's not on there. I don't think it would have gotten up to the air vent. That is quite a distance. And even though it is a light object, it doesn't have a tendency to be airborne as such. Right, it's probably gone to the place where my missing stencil is. You can see the damage area that we were working on the other week. Aha, we found the chip. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm trying to work out where pin 1 is. I'm guessing that's it up there, top left. And according to the board view and schematic, that is the correct orientation there. I'll just try and clean up some of that scum. We don't need the entrails of rebel leaders on my chips. Thank you very much. Let's see if it helps. I lost an SMC chip last week after one of my rare perfect reballs. Look, move chair. Oh no. No, that is sad hearing that. Why not put solder paste on the chip pads? Because there's nothing really to bond that solder paste there. The paste will just run off, smear and running at a very low I'm a little bit worried that the clock and data lines aren't quite actually connected. Have a look at them from the edge. Yeah, I don't think they're quite sitting down. I'm going to have to give them a little bit of a tap to basically put home my point of view. Now the trouble I have here is I've got to make sure I don't skew when I push down. I did rotate fractionally, but because these are very large spaced out pads, I think we'll be okay. We'll just do some diode tests, make sure we don't have like the clock and data touching each other and things like that. An island from Sri Lanka. Okay, first we'll do continuity. Okay, continuity mode. Make sure our clock and data aren't touching. Seems good. Make sure they're not going to ground. Seems good. Make sure power's not going to ground. Seems good. And also okay, that is actually meant to... Wait, no it's not. Is it? Nope, that probably is not meant to go to ground. Let's see. What the hell? Piece of wire. Oh, and there you go. Look at that. It is meant to go to ground. That's an interesting one. So it does go to ground via this little internal wire. Good to know. So yeah, even though it looks like it's going off to some... See, use ground pin AC22 on UB00 for N leg. Where is it? Unfortunately, we don't have the BGA type namings in MacBook board views for some reason. The data itself does not contain that information. It just simply has what do you call it? It just simply has the numbers and not the A1, B2 sort of thing. Yeah. So anyway, so that was good that we checked, because yeah, we wouldn't have known otherwise that it goes into here, and then let's see, yeah, the reason why this all goes crazy is because they're all ground. Okay, let's go back to the microscope. What else are we checking? Now we've got to check on diode mode and see that we actually have sensible figures for our clock and data. 4748, that's pretty good. 4748, they're balanced, they're both the same, which is good. That's what you should expect to see. Okay, right, I think we can now put this into action. Fingers crossed things actually work, and fingers crossed it actually boots at a reasonable speed. I will know fairly quickly, because this would take about 3 to 4 minutes to boot normally. So if it boots in anything, if it boots at the speed at which it should normally boot, we will really notice it. So what are we doing? What were we talking about Tolstoy for? I don't remember this conversation at all. Is that you, Maurice? You can see how this part gets knocked off. It's I'll take the microscope view so you can have a look. It's so close, and you can see this is that there is the little pinion grab thing that you've got to try and dislodge from the lower case panel. And so you have that force, and then bam, you run straight into that poor little chip. A book on the stuff we've forgotten, oh, that's for sure. If only I could remember. It is a little bit distressing just how much you do forget. Because even though you've forgotten, you have the memory of the fact that you knew. I wouldn't like to be trying to do my calculus too much these days. I mean, I could do fundamental, simple calculus, parabolic curves and that sort of stuff, but something more complicated. Sorry, that wasn't calculus, that was algebra. Simple integrals and differentials, things like that. But university level calculus, just entry level, hell no. Swear, most of calculus at university is really just learning every single damn trick that there is to working out how to solve those equations quickly. That's pretty much all you do in calculus when you learn first, is you're like, right, okay, these are all the different tricks you're going to try. You just learn them, because you probably don't want to have to try and solve these equations starting from first principles. Two plus 2 equals 22. Very good, ZX, yes. HDB. Alrighty. Okay, so obviously I've got the privacy filter on. Fantastic. We're not... Oh, I was going to say we're not getting 20 volts. We are. We've got 20 volts. Come on, give me a fan spin. Oh, we got a bong and a fan spin. Oh, that's nice. Okay, now this bar takes about 4 minutes to progress. Let's see how long it takes this time. Yeah, looks pretty slow still. Looks like we have not fixed things. I wonder if the chip got damaged. No, that's taken too long. Still. That is interesting though, because definitely those clock and data lines seemed okay. I wonder what else is wrong on this machine. Hopefully the SMC didn't get damaged. We'll just let it, mind you, it's running without battery at the moment, but we will let it finish before we shut it back down. Barry, it went into a shop because it had liquid damage, which is the liquid damage that I replaced. Okay, there goes the fans at full speed. Do you ever use verbose mode? Is that even available on these models? Alright, I'm gonna check with the password to see how quickly... Actually no, you know what? I'm gonna shut down. Then I'm gonna plug the battery in. It probably shouldn't actually make any real difference. Yeah, with verbose mode, does that even exist on these? What originally happened, Barry, is I think they saw the liquid damage and everybody was like, oh dear God, the liquid damage, and failed to notice that they had knocked that chip off as well. So the liquid damage was certainly problematic in that it was preventing the ability to boot the machine because there was a couple of the data lines required to gain access to the NVRAM. But then, as I said, it was extraordinarily slow. I wonder if there's anything else that's been knocked off that area. Yeah, maybe like a little cap or resistor that's missing as well. Everything looks intact. So I'm a little confused. I can only imagine that the chip is actually damaged physically and not operating. I'm not suspecting the drive on the grounds of the fact that the whole system is slow even once it's booted. So just normal user interface interactions and things like that, they are slow. Good. It's going to try again now that the battery's plugged in. Okay, it was the battery. Not having the battery in was what was slowing it down. Because as you can see now it's booted and that was substantially quicker. So it seems like in this particular instance the battery is the culprit in terms of it slows everything down. Alright. So I think that's fixed. Excellent. Now, of course, this poor board is going to require a moderately copious amount of UV treatment. And I'm just trying to... I would actually prefer something like a silicon coverage on that chip, not the UV cure stuff. Now I believe there is something like B9000 or B something T9000 out there, and it's got this sort of consistency of the substance that I'm wanting. I just can't remember which one it was. The main reason why I prefer not to use UV cure on the chip is because it doesn't tend to stand up to the rigors of ultrasonicking quite as well as the silicon can. Hey Brian White, welcome. But I'm glad to see that it's fixed now. Now I can actually send it back to the person and say, you've got a proper operating machine, as opposed to, well, you can limp along at 1/100th of the speed you normally would. You'll be right, mate, right? Command V. Oh, for anything that makes the bong sound. Okay, cool. I should try that next time. For some reason I always was thinking once we got to the USB-C versions that they stopped that facility. And you just sort of subconsciously don't even bother trying it. But there you go, they'll teach me for not trying. Ach nee man, come on. So many little bits and pieces hanging on for dear life around here. Yeah. Alright. That's fantastic. I'm actually really happy about that. Now, let's see. Whoop. Nail varnish, again, too brittle. I need something that can take a little bit of a beating henceforth. Basically the stuff that they are using on MacBook boards to cover up various components, that clear silicon type compound. Like I said, I think it's like B9000 or something is a similar. Okay, down you go there. Alright. Well, we actually do have a new machine that came in today, so we'll have a look at this one and see if there's anything we can do. Oh. What do we got? Funnily enough, another 1989. Liquid on board, no activity. Alrighty. Funny how you get coincidental machines coming in. Okay, I just need to find a container that I can use. Here we go. Second last one. Pedro must have stolen all the rest of them. Liquid electrical tape. That, I know that stuff, yeah. Usually it comes in like black or red. Alright, we're going to have to switch over to my full face here as I take the bottom off this. Oh look, here's a dickhead gene. Yeah, you'll love these people. Apparently I'm a noob, eh? Alright. Didn't say what at though. Derek Chan. 3437. Yes, the A and Bs are interchangeable. In fact, there's a new project out there now where we can actually put different SMCs onto different boards, so long as you can get a boot out of the SMC initially. and then we found a way to flash the SMC to suit the board that you've put it on. So finally now we have a situation where we can, what do you call it, utilize SMCs that we may not have been able to before. God damn, I can't. I want to show the taking off of this bottom panel the proper way, but unfortunately I can't. Okay, clip. Needs to say, like I said, 3 or 4 millimeters all you need. No more. MG Chemicals peelable solder mask. Is that clear or translucent? Anyway. Alright, let's go to the overhead now. No, that's a microscope, Paul. There we go. Overhead. So apparently it's got liquid damage. Let's see if anyone's butchered the chip on the side first. And fortunately, as you can see, no one's butchered that one. So that's excellent. It's because the people that did pop the top off this one to have a look before actually know what they're doing. And let's see, this is probably another 850 board. Okay, we can see the liquid damage. So it's gone into probably the... Oh dear God, right, okay. Yeah. Alright, that's going to be fun. CD3215s are most likely knocked out. This is definitely going to have to come out. Hey Andre. Check other side. Yummy Steak, you're always like 30 seconds behind everything. You just assume that I'm going to do the right thing. That's what I tell my lovely wife. Just assume I'm going to do the right thing. Sometimes I think she doesn't trust me. To which she will probably retort that she does trust me to do not the right thing. Hey, Yamara, welcome. How have you been? You're finally getting some reprieve out there from the seemingly never-ending heat. Mind you, it'll get pretty damn cold out where you are. One of those joyous dualities of being out further inland. I gotta sneeze. Alrighty. That was quite a spray event. There was enough spray in that sneeze, I could have filled up a hair conditioning tube. Oh right, you mean on the other board to check this one here. Tony, I think some of the people down in the likes of Tasmania or the highlands of Victoria might slightly disagree, though admittingly, you know, it's not like it's Siberia or any of those great northern European continent areas, country areas. So I suppose you may have a point. $17. Yeah, it's about that here too, Andrew. Yeah, yummy steak. There's probably not much point trying to tell me what to do because I'm already on my own. So this is the trouble. I'm already on my own process of doing things. And it's a lot of drama to stop and detour from that. Part of it is because you've got to stop and change your mindset. And yeah, and the other part of it is, of course, we're dealing with the YouTube lag. So it is, if you're the sort of person that likes to do this, the kind of interactive repair thing, then yes, you will be driven mad by this. But if you're a bit of a sadomasochist, then you will participate in this in order to drive yourself mad and feel the agony of it. Short to ground, not really sure myself, sorry. Can't help you on that one. Around here, we don't get anything much lower than about 4 Celsius. And it's very rarely longer than for a day or two. I think the longest that we had any sort of cold that I can recall was probably about 12 years ago now, and it rained during winter pretty much non-stop for about 2 weeks, and it was cold enough for long enough that the olive trees actually flowered, which is an exceptionally rare event around here. And people that year actually had a bounty of olives, although most of us had no idea what to do with them. Now I know the olive trees that I have, I've only planted in the last perhaps 10 years, and they have never fruited. So if we're really lucky, they're mature enough now that if we do get a sufficiently cold run for a couple of weeks, then yeah, I might get some olives. But like I said, I'm not sure how good they'll be given the fact that it's pretty unusual out here. Chances are I'll pick them and go, yay, I got olives, but then, you know, won't really be able to do much with them. I've got 2 different types. I've got Kalmata and some other one, the rounder one. Obviously there's a squillion subvariants, so don't ask me which specific one I have. That sticker on the tree, those little tags where they have the identification information, has long since disappeared. Hey, Smeller. Someone in town has poisoned mice to poison the wheat. Yeah, I saw that on the news, and I was like, what the hell are they doing? You know, it's like, I hate it when people don't think about this. It's like locals here, they will put rat sack out or whatever, and it'll kill the rats, but then it also gets the tawny frog mouths. And it's like, great, you know, just use the mechanical traps for the rats around here. Because too many of our native birds get taken out due to that stuff, and it's extremely frustrating, and it's difficult to try and explain to people why they shouldn't be doing it. Because they're like, oh, stop being such a greenie, mate. What do you care about the animals? Shut your face, man. You got cats. They're the worst. And it's like, regardless, you don't have to make things worse anyway. And besides, we keep our cats in enclosures, and if they ever happen to get their hands on some native wildlife, we're very quick to get it off them. Brother lives in Gladstone. He said winter fell on Tuesday this year. It got to 12, yeah. Been a long time since I've been to Gladstone. Most of the times I just avoid it, because when you're coming up from Brisbane up the east coast, Bruce Highway, it doesn't take you through Gladstone. You just go straight past it, which probably is a good thing. This is a train wreck. They've been using illegal poison. What did they use? I didn't see that listed in the story. This is some nasty... Ooh, we got lucky though. We're lucky because these are underfilled. CD3215s. So what's going to be wrong here? You can see the charring that has occurred. These caps will be shorted out. That one there probably is the primary culprit. Oh, check this out. What are you? I have no idea what that is. It's probably a xenomorph. And if I crack that thing open, I'm going to have a very limited lifespan. Yep. The joy of xenomorphs. Yeah, we'll put that aside somewhere and leave it to Ripley. She can deal with it. This here is probably going to have troubles, and so even if we do get this back up and running, this here will still keep the ports down at 5 volts. That's something to watch out for. This looks like it's got some burning. Yeah, what a train wreck. But at least it seems to be only in one area. Tomorrow's razor blade. Razor blade, razor blade. Okay, tomorrow you're going to have to explain that one to me. So I'd say initially, let's wash this down with some 80-20 and get the worst of the corrosion off. Face hugger, yes. I don't believe it's a bean. I'm almost certain it's a xenomorph egg. Almost certain. Looks like a poppy seed. Yeah, it's around about the size of a poppy seed, to be fair. So it's a drug-induced xenomorph. Yeah, I know. I'm just going to be quiet now. I'm being silly. Just gotta be careful here with the tweezers. I don't really want to knock things off, but at the same time I don't want to sit here all day scrubbing this. That resistor's gone. Okay, to be fair, that would have been gone anyway. Now hopefully the pad under there is okay. Man, what a train wreck. The MOSFET might be trashed as well. I should give this a taste test, find out what it is. Actually, if I heat it up, I'll find out. Usually when you heat these things up, they will tend to reveal what they are. Just through the smell. Oh, right, yes, no, you are quite correct actually. I do need a trim. I even admit to that. The fact that Alita can now grab me by the beard and lead me around is a problem. There's enough length there that she can get a solid grip and yank pretty hard, and I'm completely at her mercy. So definitely time for a trim. Okay, we're lucky those pads stayed behind that resistor. Very, very lucky. And as you can see, with the washing away of the corrosion, the liquid that's gone on here, it gives you a better feeling of this is actually fixable compared to the initial experience or impression where you're thinking, oh, it's all over, give up now, lose all hope. Have you ever used just water and cotton bud? Yes, I have. On a few occasions, I do have. Yep, here it is. Yeah, that's deionized water. It's not distilled water. I would prefer distilled water. Though in fairness, within seconds of it even touching the board, it's going to lose that precious status. Okay, on 3 here, we're probably going to have a missing pad or some trouble there, so we will have to consider replacing that. We'll see if it boots, but I have a suspicion that on 3 there, it's going to have drama. Continuity test. As expected, shorted. That one's not quite so bad. Now, we do have the problem that this being an underfilled chip does complicate matters when it comes to replacing these caps. So we will probably have to employ, I would suggest, the Jesser method to some degree. How much is it? iMac 2016 4 gig, 27 inch, 5K. You could probably get 1200 Australian for that. They are still worth the money, I believe. Okay, pushing on top pad, there's give. Pushing on bottom, there's no give. Pushing on top, there's give. Pushing on bottom, no give. The solution to get these off without causing physical damage will be to put leaded solder on the bottom and just lift them off with the soldering iron. Hey, CD. Certainly when it comes to 3215s, liquid damage, these capacitors are the ones that you'll most commonly have shorting out. That's if you're having a good day. you're having a bad day, they will not be shorted, they'll be corroded but not shorted, and your troubles will lay elsewhere. Autodidact, yeah, I'd say, look, 1,000 US is certainly a very viable price point. You could probably get a bit more than that. Particularly that they are the 5K ones. Alright, now that we've removed the caps, we'll test again for continuity. And as you can see, we no longer have a short on either of the networks. We do have to resolve the problem here as well, and that one there has also just cleanly come off. Again, we're very lucky. This appears to be corrosion that has occurred while the machine is off. This is not corrosion that has occurred due to electrolysis effect. Instead, this is more a case of unfortunate liquid damage occurred. It's been sitting there. The corrosion is just through caustic elements of the liquid. There was a little bit of electrolytic effect going on with the capacitors, but overall it's more a case of the liquid itself creating most of the damage directly through its content. The way you can usually tell is because when you've got liquid damage and the board is powered and running, your corrosion will be focused on typically one of the main rails or one side of the parts rather than both sides of the parts. If you've got pretty even corrosion on both sides of the parts, then you're dealing with something that's been sitting around and just stewing in the liquid, which is actually the better option in most cases. We do still have the problem, of course. We need to reaffix these two capacitors, and it is an underfilled chip. And even though we do have leaded solder to our advantage, we do still need to be careful. So we have a 10 microfarad 40263 volt. That's a pretty standard cap these days. I'm not going to pick one off a donor if I can help it. And I'll also check 31, which should be the same. It is, yep. So both of those caps are 10 microfarad 6.3. .3x, I have my doubts that there's corrosion under that chip. Because, as Miles just mentioned, it is underfilled. Maybe I was being a little bit game, trying to do two at once. Something I should have learned at university. I was biasing the heat at the back here because this portion here is the ground plane, and we've already soldered the top. That's very quick and easy because that's just simply traces. There's no real great thermal mass there. So by heating up this region, it allowed the temperature to rise and approach the back of the caps rather than heating up here and trying to wait for it to come back down. So this way, by heating around here, it reduce the chance of doing damage to the underfill. Hey Sudi, yes, Talia is doing quite a bit better now. She's still a little bit silly, but she is doing better. Right, next step we have to approach are these two resistors. So 3108, 3109. And they are both 1 mega ohm. Okay, 1 mega ohm. Not too often I see that being used around here. Obviously just general pull-ups. 201. I could probably find I could get away with using something as low as 100k on that, and it would probably be fine. But we will look to see if we have the, what do we have to 1 meg? And we do indeed have 1 meg. Well, you can get acid flux, yes. Plumber's flux. And of course, all this acid is all this acid. Oh look, cap. The flux is, by its nature, a little bit acidic typically, in order to provide the cleaning action. But how strong it is a matter of choice, like when you pick the flux that you're going to use. Oops. Hey, Vlodum. Oh, sorry folks, thank you. Switching away from the schematic view is always a weak point in this process. I don't really know, or I haven't thought of a way yet to detect when I need to switch away from that. Now, I'm hoping mostly here that the reduced mass of the parts these resistors are will allow that leaded solder to... Come on. Okay. Just had to be patient. I'm also using a fairly low iron hot air setting. Typically on Macbooks you go running around at 460 and 100 or so, but for this sort of rework I'm only doing 380 and 80. Hey Warren Stamps, welcome, hello. Minutes past midnight, 12 here. Alright, now I'm a little bit worried about this resistor here. Let's give it a push. Now, even though it is corroded, when we give it a push there's no give. Subsequently, what I'll do is just run a bit of solder over it. try clean it up. Getting the angle in itself is half the trick. Okay, that might be okay. And I think we are at the point where we may be able to test this. Okay, you can see here that power was running through this board at the time that these parts encountered the liquid. As you can see, one side is corroded, but the ground is not. We'll check the other side, see if there's anything that we need to sort out there, and then we can do a test. Condition can be hot air handle pickup. It's possible one tomorrow's, yes. Okay, it's a good thing we've checked the other side, because there is indeed some scum here, but not a lot. The 3215 looks okay. The diode and the MOSFET, they probably just need a wash. I don't think we're going to encounter any actual electrical issues on this one. Proximity detection, that is another possibility. I'm also trying to think of things that I can do as simple as possible. I would say detecting the iron or the hot air out of the holder is certainly a good one, because it implies an action that you're about to do. Proximity to the eyepieces probably isn't quite so good, because many a time you'll look back down at the eyepieces while you're also working on the board view and schematic. So I think looking for tool activity is probably the better option. Alright, that looks good. Hey Jessica, welcome. Good to see you. Talia is doing quite well today. I spent some more time with her, just giving her a good scratch. Trying to break up that burned hair that she has. Just trying to get that cap I left on there. I cannot see what I'm doing. It's bad enough that I'm not using the microscope. I'm not even using glasses. I actually do like to try and keep the parts that I remove from the board in these plastic containers, and that way I can always check back on things if I have to. I have a suspicion this part will need replacing. It's a multiplexer for the ports. How did I miss this? Why did you let me miss this? This is all your fault. That could have been quite a problem. You call yourselves dedicated YouTubers, really? Come on. That's a serious omission. Good thing I went back to check on that cap that I couldn't get off the edge there. do take note of this part because we may have to replace it. I'm not seeing any kind of bleeding or indication that the corrosion got underneath, but it's worth keeping in mind if we don't have a proper boot that that part did have corrosion around it. Again, I shouldn't say corrosion because a lot of this is not actually corrosion. When what you're looking at is just scummy liquid, whatever it was, coffee or whatever. That's all it is, just caked up liquid. It's not actually corrosion. There was corrosion on the large caps. There was corrosion on some of those resistors. But what we just washed away, that was not corrosion. That's just caked up liquid. Aosis. Yes, Andre, that is correct. Blame the subscribers. It's certainly the best way out. Now what I do worry about with this particular board, machine rather, is that the liquid damage is all being done over here, which means that the touch bar is probably messed up. Certainly that there's probably going to have to come out, which reminds me I actually don't want to test this in the chassis yet. Instead we need to test it just out in the wild first. See if we get our 20 volts, and if we do, we can proceed. Okay, 300 milliamps, 5 volts, so we are not yet getting our 20 volts. So it is possible that the CD3215's got damaged. I sincerely hope not, but it's possible. Let's try this again. What bothers me here is that I've got an unknown protocol. Oh wait, no, we've got an Apple 2.4, so that's a good sign. But again, no 20 volts. At this point, my next attack point would be that PI USB 3.2 chip. And if that fails, then I would look at the ISL. And if that fails, then I'll just give up. Yeah, it's the sort of person I am, just give up. Steve K, no, everybody else should have been able to look through that. Genuinely cannot blame you for that. At this point I wouldn't really be going for the infrared on the basis of the fact that, wow, there's so much flux junk here. Yuck. On the basis of the fact that the currents that it's drawing are pretty normal in the 5 volt state. And it is showing a protocol. So the fact that it gives me a protocol means that the communications are happening. It's not just sort of blindly dead, but something is inhibiting it, switching over to the 20 volt mode, of course. Okay, so we're going to lift this strange chip here. Now the main reason why I'm going for this particular chip is purely based on prior experience, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but I have often found that this chip can inhibit you from getting to 20 volts if there's a problem with it. Now my bigger problem here is I'm not sure if I've got many of them left. In fact, I don't know if I've got any of them left. asked me a question. Guess I'll have to have a look. Did you get the VRAM? Okay. The VRAM, I replaced it, reballed it, and it did come up, the screen, but unfortunately it didn't persist. After about an hour and a half, 2 hours of mem test, it failed again. But at least now it actually does come up, and it comes up as a clean screen. So I don't know whether I've got yet another problem in the VRAM or what. Apparently the kernel, good God, I can't find my soldering line here. Now apparently in the kernel failure logs there is mention of VRAM. Oh, on stage, really? Didn't realise I was being used in the Nintendo. Surging circuits, it could actually be the opposite situation. I mean, I've been having such a dreadful run of luck lately that perhaps the problem is that I've let myself go too much. And so in order to restore my prior success rates, I need to restore my looks. Yeah, shaving my head is not a good idea. There are a few too many cranial injuries that have left somewhat substantial scars, and I don't really care to put that on general display. Tomorrow's man bun. Oh, harsh. So harsh. Man bun. Alright, let's look at this chip on the other side and see what damage there might have been. Yeah, so that, you can't really see it, but that there was the corroded pin. And aside from that, there really isn't any other indication. But I'll have to see if I can find a replacement one of these. Robinson Crusoe look does to me. Well, maybe because when I was a youngster, I really did just want to go and live out in the wild. I had no strong inclination to do any technology stuff or anything like that. I just genuinely wanted to walk out of the house, go into the bush and live. I don't get to do that now. Apparently now I have responsibilities. Oh, Barry, that's a little harsh. I'd rather say I'd look like something out of a modern horror game, I guess. Alright, now I don't know if this board has the chip I'm looking for. I'm sort of just wishful thinking at this point. I don't believe this one does. Yeah, wishful thinking, alright. Alright, because I'm fairly sure that every single one of my 1708s does not have this chip anymore. Mad Max character. Now there's a far more fitting term to use, yes. No chip. No chip by design. No chip. No chip by design. By design. Sheesh. Yeah, I've got a real problem here. I'm kind of need one of these chips. I even had Tim Herman send me some, and I've used all them up too. Another one, no chip. Yes, I can get them from Mouse, but I'd rather, or Digi, but I'd rather have one on hand. I may have to plunder an existing board that I know is dead, that I've used them on. That's the thing I hate, is a lot of the time you do have a stock of these parts, but, hello bug, but you chew through them trying to fix someone's board, but then you fail to actually reclaim the ones that didn't make a difference. So you end up using good parts on a board that ends up being a failure, and you don't get those parts back sometimes because you're just too stupid. Okay, so we're just gonna have to find this rotten little thing. I'll also check on my MacBook parts container, but I'm almost certain that I have utilized all of them at this point. I could be lucky. There could be one. I have my doubts. Steve, I'll try and remember that the next time when I have bought them and used them, and I'll send them back to AliExpress and say, the chip that I wanted is no longer on this board. It's irrelevant that I used it. I just want that chip back, please. So can you give me a new board? That's a belief. Which reminds me, I still haven't got my replacement 3215s yet. I'm starting to get a little bit concerned that they just told me what I wanted to hear and then ignored me. Alright, looks like that's a big fat negatory. Now, people will be looking at this list and going, why isn't the 1708 840 board on here? And the problem there is that it's not actually listed in the PDF file. It's one of those boards where the part is on the board, but it's not actually in the file. The house renovations, yeah, we've got various delays as per usual. Unfortunately, we do have this scenario where um, yeah, everybody else's delays and whatnot come cascading onto us. I mean, for instance, we were waiting for carpet, and we ordered that some time ago now, and still no carpet. And then finally we rang them up. Well, no, we didn't ring them. A leader went down to the store, and there's a sign there saying, due to unforeseen circumstances, this store will not be open until there's my Pi 3 USBs. Will not be open until basically next week. Now, what's frustrating about that is they themselves do not do the carpet install. They simply organize the person to do it, and it's handed off. You know, the job is passed on. Yeah, the person comes and does the job. We finish the payment. You know, it's all offhand. So I was hoping that they would have handed off that job and said, there you go do this job, and then that's the end of it. But instead it seems that never even got to happen yet. Like I said, just things like that slow everything up. As your local, yes, the TV did arrive, thankfully, and it is a good TV. Very happy with it. I was actually quite amused by the Magic remote. It's a nifty thing. It's one of those ones where it's a motion detector, yeah, kind of like a what are those new gaming controllers that can tell which way you're pointing, or you know, inertia systems or whatever they're using. So that definitely makes it a lot easier to use. What type of wooden flooring are common in Nikita Net? Well, hardwood flooring is obviously very popular here, but it has become a little bit expensive, and as such people now tend to use fake vinyl flooring, you know, vinyl plank type flooring. It does the job, but of course, well, I've found that termites will still eat the stuff that does contain wood, and then if you get the plastic vinyl type, which is probably more true to the term vinyl, I worry about them having shrinkage issues. So I think we may end up going with tiles, wood look tiles if we have to. This chip doesn't look so pretty. I kind of have my reservations about it. Tony, yes, we have Netflix on the new TV. We also have Disney. Basically for us, we have three things, and that is Netflix, Disney, and YouTube. We do have free-to-air broadcast in this area, but free-to-air broadcast isn't really worth the cost in terms of mental damage. I mean, the advertising alone just drives you insane. Right. See, your mum has vinylized cork tiles, great insulated, tough, nice under the feet, looks just like cork. My main worry is that, yeah, just shrinkage of them over time. Maybe I shouldn't be worrying so much. My biggest problem here is I don't know if this chip is actually even functional or not, because it was just in a bag saying it was one of these chips. It doesn't mean it was actually a working chip. The soap opera effect. Margarita. Funnily enough, I did experience that with the first smart TV that I bought quite a few years ago. The first TV I bought was a Samsung 17-inch. Not 17 inches. What am I talking about? A Samsung 14. Nope. Try again, Paul. 40-inch. I believe it was a 7000 series, and yes, the soap opera effect was quite pronounced on that. Much to the point where a leader now will probably threaten death upon me should I dare try to bring a Samsung back into the house. Consequently, we ended up getting an LG. Previously, we got a HD, what was it, LG 55, I can't remember the series, but it was a very good HD TV. And this time we've got an LG 55 8000 series, and we're very happy with that. Funnily enough though, the soap opera effect really is a manifestation of a superior image. But we just don't like it. Yay, we got our 20 volts, so it was that chip. Yep. 6, 5, 4, 5, 4. Come on, show me the amp. Show me the amp. The only thing that bothers me here is that I'm not getting a protocol. I should be seeing Apple QC 2.0, but I'm getting nothing. Alright, well, we are getting 20 volts, so it's a start. Steve K. There's no shrinkage in the new cushion padded vinyl flooring. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, because I can just imagine with the vinyl flooring, because usually you got to adhere them to the floor, and vinyl traditionally does, or plastic traditionally does, have a little bit of a shrinkage factor, and I can just imagine all of these boards curling up in the corners and shrinking in like some sort of crazy indoor mud flat. It would be nice to have the protocol because it would be indicating to me that things are functioning in terms of communications. But at this point, we will now place the board in. We will not plug in this side, nor will we plug in the touch bar side. We simply want to see if we can boot enough to get something on the display. And let's not damage the ever important on-off button that is so weak. The way they have designed the on-off button here, I do not like the way that it has the design of the flex, because if you just happen to snag that, it's the sort of thing that will just tear itself in half. And there goes your Touch ID and everything else. Which of course is exactly what Apple wants you to do. Put my glasses on. Soderbridge has turned up to express his opinion. Soderbridge, you're getting to the point where I'm going to have to start expressing my opinion. Now, it does obviously run better with the battery connected, but I'm not going to bother yet. Because at least with the battery not connected, I can always yank the power cable out in a flash if there's anything turning to ash. Okay, privacy filter. Hey Ricardo, good evening to you, sir. Okay, don't normally go from this side. Okay, we are at 20 volts now. We appear to have an offensive screen to Soderbridge. Soderbridge, suck it. Sorry, my apologies. That's a little bit immature of me, but sometimes Soderbridge deserves such a smack in the head. And of course, I suspect this is going to go, yep, there we go, we've got a proper boot, so all good. We are now fixed, so that was it. Thank God for another success. I was starting to have a bad run there. Interesting that this one didn't have the protracted boot issue. Interesting. Yep, Soderbridge, day ruined. That's how we like to finish things for you. Alright then, well listen, it's approaching 1 o'clock in the morning. It is time for me to go get some food, sit down, watch some mind-melting American Dad or something just to let me relax. And I may see you tomorrow. Who knows? But until then, you all take care, and thanks for being here. I'll catch you later. Have a good one.